What's going to happen? What's the plan, given the fact that the White House has just said, no, there's going to be no impeachment. We're not participating.
Yeah, this is just the White House's newest attempt to try to think they're above the law. They don't have to participate in the process. And I think, where we're at as House Democrats, we're not taking it anymore. We're figuring out every possible way to be able to compel folks. If not, we'll move ahead and add that to any articles of obstruction. But, we recently sent a letter to Secretary Pompeo regarding a provision that's in the annual reoccurring budget process, Section 713, that specifically says you can go after the pay of anyone who directs someone not to participate with a committee inquiry. And we're going to start being more aggressive on this, because we've got to be able to make people have to be within the law, and they're not doing that.
All right, Claire.
Congressman, we had a very important argument in front of the Supreme Court yesterday as it relates to gay rights in this country. And interestingly enough, the justices that proclaimed that they wanted to not go outside the letter of the law in interpreting the law are, on the fence here, because clearly the 1964 law says the word discrimination on the basis of sex, and so a strict interpretation would be that this would also include discrimination against people because they were gay. The thing about that argument that struck me, and I'd love your take on it, was Gorsuch saying that if they found in favor of the employees on discrimination, it would cause massive social upheaval. Now, that's what I would define as an out-of-touch Supreme Court justice. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, my home state of Wisconsin was the very first state in the country back in 1983, a law signed by a Republican governor to protect gay and lesbian people, at the time not transgender, from discrimination in employment and housing. So we've had this in place for a long time. Wisconsin's a pretty nice place to live. We haven't had any real problems. And I think that they're really out of touch in trying to put the administration's ideas forward in this area around discrimination. What they're going to ultimately do is reopen the ability for people across the country to be discriminated against. And right now, in a majority of states in this country, you can be legally married on a Saturday and then on Monday be fired or lose your housing, and that's perfectly legal by the law. So this is a really important provision. These 3 cases that were heard yesterday are there to protect people like myself and my husband, so that we don't have to be discriminated against. And unfortunately, I think the court's just way out of whack on this.
Congressman, back onto the topic of impeachment. Your effort to basically remove Secretary Pompeo's paycheck from him, isn't that kind of weak? I mean, that's not going to happen.
Well, here's what's happening. I just did town halls in every county in my district, and I have some very rural counties. I have Madison, Wisconsin, a very progressive area. But every town hall, people are saying the president thinks he's above the law and he's not doing things like complying with this. We can do criminal contempt that has to go to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Guess what? They report to Bill Barr. Not going to happen. We can go through civil contempt, and that's a long court process. Many of the things that we have to compel are not going to be very easy to do that if the president and the White House don't want to agree to work with us. This is something we can do. We actually did it in 2016. The Republicans did it against a HUD official, and the GAO came in and went after their salary. So let's just start fighting back. I think that's what people really want us to do. They're tired of a president that thinks he's above the law, and they know that he put his own personal interests above our national security, and they're upset. And I think this is just trying to react to the people in my district saying, do whatever you can. We have to start playing a little tougher.
Okay, so Wisconsin is obviously going to be a key state in 2020, a key state. In your town hall meetings with constituents, especially the rural, more conservative constituents, I would expect, did you get any sense from them that one of the bottom lines that they are arriving at is that the guy, Trump, simply can't do the job?
Yeah, impeachment was the #1 issue at every town hall in every part of my district. Healthcare and prescription drug prices were up there, but also in those rural districts, the farm economy. Don't forget, Secretary Perdue came to Wisconsin last week and essentially said small farms need to go away, go big or go home. which is the exact opposite of what message we want to hear in Wisconsin. We've lost 1,600 family farms just since Donald Trump became president, and the tweeting tariffs that the president's been doing is having a devastating impact on my dairy farmers, my corn growers, my soybean farmers, and the assistance that's been provided is pennies to what they actually need to still be in business. So there's a lot of angst in those rural communities, and they're really being devastated by so many of the president's actions.
Congressman Mark Pocan, thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
To other